Here it is, guys, it's finally here. A supercharged V8 Ford F-150 Raptor from the factory. This is the 2023 Raptor R. In this video, I'm gonna show you all the way around the truck, tell you all the specs, all the modes, pricing, towing capability, shocks, suspension, and what's under the hood. So let's get going. That's right, Ford listened to you guys who really wanted a production truck with a supercharged V8 engine, and they're giving it to you right here. Hiding behind this grille is basically the Predator engine. The Predator name comes from the 5.2 liter V8 that's also currently available in the Ford Mustang GT500 Shelby, a performance sports car. This engine has been retuned, of course, for the Raptor because it's a truck. It's way heavier than a Mustang, but the core of the engine is basically the same. It's 5.2 liters. It's got a giant supercharger sitting on top of it, and it's made it to a 10-speed automatic transmission with a very unique and special torque converter to handle all the power. 700 horsepower and 640 pound-feet of torque. So more torque than in the Mustang GT500, less horsepower than the Mustang, and also this horsepower is less than a Ram TRX, which has 702, for example. So that's peculiar, but as we go through this video, I'll tell you more specifications because, of course, this truck is a bit lighter than the TRX. Well, here it is, the Predator V8, the 5.2 liter supercharged puppy right here in the flesh. This is the size of it. Yes, it's pretty much small enough for me to hug. Okay, enough hugging. The supercharger itself is 2.65 liters of volume, or 2650. Very, very, very similar to the one in the GT500 Mustang Shelby, but the pulley is different. And of course, I told you the power numbers already, but here's kind of the RPM curves for the horsepower and torque. Maximum torque comes in at about 4,250 RPM, that's 640 pound-feet. And the horsepower comes in, the peak horsepower is 700 horsepower at 6,650 RPM with a 7,000 RPM red line. So this is a screamer of an engine. I cannot wait to just drive it hard, both on-road and off-road. They worked really hard at managing the airflow, of course, for this very powerful V8 engine. The exhaust is a little bit more unique. That loop-to-loop is now gone. That is going to be still on, of course, the EcoBoost high-output V6 versions of the Raptor. Here you have a unique tip. It's basically a packed tip. It looks a little bit different. So this exhaust has valves. So there's several modes, like in some of the other Raptors. There's quiet, normal, sport, and Baja. And they're quite different. And it's V8 sound, yes. So right here on the right of the steering wheel, you can control 4 levels of exhaust. Right now it's in quiet, normal, sport, Baja. I don't know, you could hear it. I could definitely hear it from the inside. The valves are wide open now. It says off-road use only, and you can vary that. Raptor R only will be available in one configuration. Of course, crew cab, shorter 5.5-foot bed, just like the other Ford Raptors, 3rd generation trucks, and 37-inch tall tires. And yeah, this is basically the only pickup truck from the factory with 37s. Yes, technically the GMC Hummer EV truck, you can update to 37s according to GMC, but this comes like this directly out of the factory. Let's take a closer look at the wheel and tire package. They remain the 17-inch wheel right here, beadlock capable. And there's this theme, the dark theme runs through it. So painted black here. The BF Goodrich all-terrain KO2 tire. It's 37 by 12.5 wide, sitting on the 17-inch wheel. I think this is a really good package because also it allows for additional ground clearance, really good approach and departure angles. The ground clearance sits at about 13.1 inches, which is pretty good. We have to talk about suspension. This is a Raptor truck after all. How's it different? Well, it's changed a bit. First of all, the supercharged engine weighs between about 80 to 100 pounds more than the comparable twin-turbo V6. This is according to Ford. So that's not a huge weight increase. I was originally expecting a little bit more weight added, but up to about 100 pounds more is not too bad. But they have to retune the suspension. So first of all, they added about 5% spring rate on the front coils, which makes it a little bit stiffer, but still maintains the same attitude and just the suspension configuration with a slightly additional weight of this power plant. The shocks are still Fox live valve, latest generation, 3.1s. They're semi-active, which means they can be, of course, those valves can change, and how soft or stiff that shock is can be changed in real time. And also, the driver has a selectable switch inside to modify that and change how it works. They don't have both the compression and rebound adjustability, something that Ram TRX does have on their Bilstein Black Hockey 2 shocks. So this kind of maintains that Raptor 37 shock capability. Just like any pickup truck, the Raptor R should be able to do some real work and actually upped the towing by 500 pounds to 8,700 pounds of maximum towing capacity, and the payload still sits around 1,400 pounds. Those are good numbers for any four-wheel drive truck, especially the one with a really, really special customized off-road suspension like this. Like I said, 1,400 pounds of payload is available for the base Raptor R. It's quite usable. You have the latest tailgate with the step. All those things are available. And if you're wondering about power on board, it's a 400-watt system because it's the V8. It's just a supercharged V8. It's just the way it's designed. It's not able to be paired up with higher wattage inverters. This is the latest super truck from Ford, the Raptor R. But competition hasn't been just waiting around and sitting still. This truck now has to compete against many entries, not just one. Yes, of course, the Ram TRX is there. The TRX has a little bit more horsepower, bit more torque from its 6.2-liter supercharged V8. But the TRX weighs more. Ford says the curb weight on the Raptor R is 5,950 pounds, so just under 6,000 pounds. And option for option, that's about 400 pounds less than a comparable Ram TRX. So the Raptor R has a weight advantage there. So I cannot wait to show you some street performance comparisons like 0 to 60s, quarter-mile times, drag races. That's all coming very, very soon. I promise, as soon as this truck gets closer to production later this year. But also there's the GMC Hummer EV. Yes, that's also a very capable off-road truck with 1,000 horsepower. The Hummer EV is a different beast. It's all electric. It weighs 9,000 pounds. There's also the Rivian R1T with height adjustable suspension as well. Lots of horsepower, lots of capability. Those trucks may have a little bit more ground clearance, about 15 inches of ground clearance in their highest modes versus 13.1. So yeah, Raptor R is not in a vacuum. It has to compete with many other trucks. Let's talk about exterior style differences just for a second on the Raptor R. First of all, it's very subtle. The changes are small, but the hood is unique, especially this bulge. It's about an inch taller than a standard Raptor V6 truck. It's still functional and still extract the air, but I think it's a little bit more prominent. And of course, Raptor R badge is quite visible. Also, this has a decal graphics package, which you can delete. You can tell Ford not to put this on, but this one does say supercharged V8, and there are a lot of different 8s. Yes, it's all about the V8. You've been asking for it, and they deliver it finally. And then there's an Easter egg in the back. The color you see here is antimatter blue. It looks different in different light conditions. Right here in the sun, it pops with a little bit of metallic. There's also two new colors for the Raptor R. There's an avalanche white color, and there's another special gray. And then there's the graphics package here. Once again, you can delete this bed graphic. A lot of this design also has the 8s throughout it, and also supposed to kind of resemble the drying mud in the desert when it cracks when it's drying. There's a little tiny Easter egg right here in the back. There's a single V. So yes, of course, Ford wants you to know it's a V8, but this is quite subtle. Once again, the kind of blacked out dark theme continues in the rear here, and the R is highlighted. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Should Ford have made this truck a little bit more differentiated from other Raptor trucks, or do you like this kind of dark look? And the only other way to tell this is a Raptor R is because the exhaust tips are different and unique to the V8 truck. And visually speaking, one other touch on the Raptor R is the code orange tow hooks, just to differentiate it just subtly enough. All right, let's take a look on the inside of the Raptor R. So it's quite similar, but there's little touches that are unique to the R. First of all, Recaro seats are still here. They're now made a little bit darker. There's special orange stitching, and of course the R is highlighted throughout. And there's kind of Alcantara is here as well. I think the seat is quite comfortable, at least for me. I feel like the bolsters are just right. And well, I haven't spent a lot of time, of course, in this truck, but the leg support seems to be okay. Stylistically speaking, some of the other differences have to do with this new carbon fiber trim, and also some of the other blacked out accents around. Ford says, customers, you guys have been asking for kind of a little bit more of a darker look on the truck, and they delivered. Of course, orange accents, code orange is, of course, here on the steering wheel, the stitching of the steering wheel is still very, very chunky. Then, of course, you can control the stiffness of the shocks right here, and the effort of the steering right here. And it is noticeable, at least it was noticeable in previous Raptors, so I'm imagining some of these modes are quite unique here on the R as well. On the left, this R button lets you configure those 5 parameters, including kind of the drive modes, the traction control system, the steering, the suspension, and the exhaust, just to your liking, and you can mix and match and then set your My Mode using the R button. And when you choose the Raptor R, there's basically no options. You can choose the exterior color, and you can delete the panoramic sunroof if you don't want it. Many of you have been wondering about the transmission in the Raptor R. It is a 10-speed automatic with a torque converter that's specially tuned to handle the power. Also, the front axle and drive shafts have been upgraded to handle the power, and everything has been retuned. The controller, of course, can still fold. You can open up your table. You can have your lunch. All that stuff is still here. This is a Raptor after all, so yes, you still have the rear locking differential. You have your drive mode. You have 4 high, 4 low, 4 automatic mode. You have front torsion differential, which is a limited slip to allow for the best traction possible. You have about 13 inches of travel in the front, 14 inches approximately in the rear, and great approach and departure angles, and the modes, of course, the modes. The mode selection is very similar to some of the other Raptors: sport, towing, and on this side, deep snow, sand, Baja, and rock crawl. And of course, Baja mode is still here. Well, there you have it, guys. You asked for it and you got it. Finally, the V8 Raptor R. It's orderable right now, so you can call your Ford dealer. Talk to them about it. Ford says the quantities are going to be limited at first. They'll do their best to build to your order. The starting price, or the price, for the Raptor R is $109,145, including destination, which is about what, $22,000-ish, $23,000 more than a comparable 37 Raptor with a V6. And it's gonna go into production in the fall of this year, so by the fourth quarter of 2022, you should be able to get your hands on one of these puppies. As always, go and check out altfl.com for everything automotive. We'll be testing this truck just as soon as we can for you, and you can see everything in one place, altfl.com.